Are we waiting on someone else? Commissioner, we'll put you here because you beside them. Yeah. Allison, you just my conscience. How you all doing? I'm Rodney Ellis, and I want to thank you for being here today. You will hear us speak in this order, me and then Commissioner Leslie Briones and then Director Robinson. Have a seat. That's all right. I won't talk. Oh, I know what that is. They're standing up, so I won't talk too long. Commissioner Briones learned about me early on. I also have Allison Leland here, who was my treasurer for many years, but leaving aside the politics, she's been my conscience on many of these issues involving maternal health. I want to thank the Harris County Public Health Director, Director Robinson, for her brilliance and her commitment to public health issues over so many years, in particular for addressing one of our most urgent racial disparities, maternal and infant health. Pregnancy and birth carry serious health risks and complications that are not experienced by all women equally. A single maternal death impacts that person's family, friends, and their children. And more than any of us dare to imagine, the harsh reality is that black women need to be talked about and talked about candidly more than any other group when we talk about maternal health. For black women, a black baby is 1.5 times more likely to be born preterm than any other babies in the city of Houston or any other baby in Harris County. Black women die during birth at a rate of 2.3 times higher than white women in Texas. In a city with top-tier research universities and the largest medical center in the world, Harris County still has one of the highest rates of maternal morbidity among metropolitan areas in the entire country. That is shameful. The state's Maternal Mortality and Morbidity Review Committee report showed that up to 87% of maternal deaths in Texas may have been preventable in 2019. That is an atrocity. In the wake of the Supreme Court's elimination of the constitutional right to an abortion and the state of Texas assault on reproductive rights, it is up to local governments and local health departments to protect the well-being of our community. That's why members of Commissioner's Court here in Harris County vowed last year to do everything within our power to increase access to contraception, family planning services, and reproductive care to offset the terrible harms of the abortion ban. Last year, my staff and I spearheaded a program that Judge Lena Hidalgo and Commissioner Garcia were both very supportive of to address the shortcomings of state funding. Director Robinson's team has crafted this into an initiative that does so much more than just that. Harris County Public Health started reaching out to mothers to participate in a home visitation pilot program. The program focuses on Black mothers and pairs 300 families with community health workers to provide access to prenatal and postpartum care. Programs like these are even more critical in this political climate, where politicians are forcing women to carry pregnancies to term, even in the case of rape and incest. There's a new reason Black mothers should not be going home from the hospital with their families after birth. There's no reason why Black mothers should not be going home from the hospital with their families after birth. And yet, interpersonal and structural racism cause delays in the diagnosis and prenatal and maternal health disorders today. Racism is a public health crisis in this country and in this county, a root cause of poverty, economic inequality, and health inequities. I appreciate all of you being here today, and I appreciate Director Robinson pulling together a meeting that's going on as we have this press conference that she'll tell you a little bit more about. We want to do as much as we can to continue to make sure that all mothers get to go home after they have a baby. I was particularly appreciative that Director Robinson chose to have this meeting of various stakeholders and advocacy groups here today, because this is a historic Hester House. I mentioned to them earlier, initially YMCAs and YWCAs were segregated institutions during that dark period in our history. And you had Black settlement houses. This is the only continuous, what was a Black settlement house in the state of Texas. Obviously, with the change of demographics, this is a much more diverse population it serves now. At Precinct 1, we are proud to keep it going. It does have a separate not-for-profit board, but the precinct puts up the bulk of the funding, thanks to the support of my colleagues on Commissioner's Court to permit us to do that. I also want to showcase this mural that says a lot about Black women. This is a replica of a John Biggers mural that I think we're going to dedicate on Thursday, but you get a preview. It's been up for a while. This replica was permitted to be reproduced by his estate. His nephew agreed to let us do several of John Biggers murals, and this is one of them. But this says a lot about women, Black women in particular, and I just thought, Barbie, it would be the perfect backdrop for this press conference. So thank you for coming here, and thank God the day after Easter, the weather permits it, because it is hot out here from time to time. With that, I want to bring up the newest member of the Harris County Commissioner's Court, who has paved her way and put her own stamp on county government during the short time she's been there. I predict that she is going to have a brilliant future long after I am out of politics and probably in the grave, because she is young, brilliant, and Harris County Commissioner who will be with us a long time, Commissioner Leslie Briones. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Rodney Ellis for the decades you have spent fighting for justice and for equity. We appreciate you so much, and thank you last court for bringing forward the resolution to recognize Black Maternal Health Week and for hosting us today at Hester House. Everyone here and everyone in our community should have a deep sense of urgency that we live in Harris County, a place with world-class medical care. People fly from across the world to come get treated at our hospitals here in Harris County. And at the very same time, Harris County leads the nation in maternal morbidity rates, especially for our Black women. Those two things should not and cannot be true any longer. We must change that, and we are working tirelessly with the leadership of our Director of Public Health, Barbie Robinson, and her team, who have brought together leaders from the federal government, state government, and local government who are working on this critical issue. As a Latina, as the first mother ever elected to Harris County Commissioner's Court in her own right, and as the proud mother, thank you, the proud mother of 3 little girls, I got to go home. I get to go home every day and see my 3 healthy little girls. I had a scare in the hospital where I could have died and my baby could have died, but I had access to the medical care I needed. And that needs to be true for every woman in Harris County, every woman in Texas, every woman in this country and across the globe. Because healthcare is a human right, and we need to make sure that we are taking care of our mothers and our babies. I'm especially proud that here in Harris County, we are hosting a conference for the next 2 days where we have experts from across the country who are working on this critical issue. We like to lead in Texas, but let us lead for the right reasons. We need to continue working so that Harris County is not leading the state and is not leading the country with regard to the mortality rate. So let us come together as a community. Let us prioritize the health and well-being of all of our mothers and babies and keep pushing Harris County forward. With that, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our bold, visionary leader of Harris County Public Health, Director Barbie Robinson.
Good morning. I'm grateful to our commissioners, Ellis and Briones, for their leadership and their advocacy and support for making critical investments in public health programming broadly, but especially for investing in what I see as the crisis of maternal health disparities. Pregnancy and birth carry serious risk that involve the mother's health, the baby's health, or both. Complications are not experienced by all women equally. As Commissioner Ellis mentioned, the statistics for Black women are staggering. For Hispanic and Indigenous birthing persons, the statistics are abysmal here in Harris County and the state of Texas. And many of the challenges are structural. Yes, we want to have resources and services and supports so that when individuals enter into the hospital, they have equal access to the same high quality of care. But we also have to think about what are the structural environmental conditions under which many African American and Hispanic women are living and becoming pregnant and working to have healthy babies and have great health outcomes as it relates to their own well-being. And so I'm grateful that during this Black Maternal Health Week, we were able to host a 2-day national conference, bringing together national researchers, experts, to discuss the challenges related to maternal morbidity, and poor outcomes. We learned that if Harris County and Cook County, which is the Chicago, Illinois area, and Wayne County, which is Detroit, Michigan, if our 3 counties reduced our Black infant mortality just by 9% collectively, the entire nation would achieve equity with respect to Black infant health and well-being. We would see similar outcomes that we see for white babies if we just reduced that number by 9%. And so we are grateful for the investments that Commissioner Court has made to stand up new programming to support not just Black moms and babies, but more broadly, women in our community who are in need of the services. So from our home visiting services to supports for the first 1,000 days of life, to addressing toxic stress, which we know has a detrimental impact on the gestational period for moms and babies, as well as some of those chronic conditions, comorbidities that Black women have at a disproportionate rate. So we're grateful today to be hosting a meeting with our federal partners to talk about how they can bring their resources and services and support to help us improve the outcomes for maternal health within Harris County. And we are grateful that you're here today, and we look forward to our conference over the next 2 days, where there's not just going to be learning, but action. Again, thank you.
So come on, join me, Commissioner and Barbie. So we'll take any questions you have. I was thinking, I want to stress how important it is to get the Black rates down, but also make sure that our rates don't go up for Anglo women or Hispanics. And I just think of how close we are. I live in a medical center, so 10 minutes to get here, even in rush hour, to be in the heart of Fifth Ward in the shadows of the greatest medical center, largest medical center in the world. We can do better. And there are a host of things that we can do. We appreciate the federal money in particular. Allison is my conscience. You can stand here with us. I won't have you say anything, but obviously a lot of this is federal money that came in. We're using it wisely. But with that, we'll take any questions you might have. I have the 3 experts, the women up here, who know far more about this than I do, from lived experiences, all of them. All right, any questions? Yes, sir.
For Director Robinson,
Yes.
I'm curious if you can give an update on the pilot program. How is that going, and how many mothers are participating?
So I'll have to get back to you on the actual statistics, but we launched earlier in this year, in 2023. The program is going well. As I mentioned, a component of the program is home visiting, but also more broadly, not just helping to support women be strong advocates for themselves and with their doctors, but also bringing resources such as food assistance, mental health services and supports, economic assistance, housing assistance. And so we're eager and excited. We'll get the statistics. I don't have the numbers, but we've launched the program, and what a befitting way to cap off that launch with our conference.
Mr. Ellis, can you once again talk about why is this such an important initiative for you at this point?
The numbers for Black babies that don't survive and Black mothers that don't survive are simply an international embarrassment. In the shadows of the wealthiest, largest medical center in the world. And that's why it is so important. We have a very diverse community. In Texas, we also happen to have the largest Black population of any state in the country. Not percentage, but the largest number of Black people in the country. So it is important. Obviously, we're going to try and use strategies that hopefully our friends in Wayne County and Cook County are using, and we're learning from them. But the fact that you can really come close to eradicating such a stark disparity when you can make a difference in just 3 counties in America is so important. For me personally, I don't want to go into details on it, but Allison and I were, she was facing more challenges than me in 1989, but it really brought it home to me when her twins were born, just how much of a challenge this is for Black women. Even if you happen to be someone that has access to the best health care in the country.
Why are the numbers so bad?
Yeah, I think what I was trying to speak to earlier is you can't just look at the experience of entering into medical care. You have to look at what are the resources, what are the structural barriers, environmental barriers prior to gestation even, right? So you have to think about where the limitations or the barriers in terms of resources to access to economic, educational. You have to think about it in a holistic way, and that is part of what the challenge is, but also there are disparities in terms of the experiences that Black women, Hispanic women experience when they are in the medical setting with a medical professional. And so some of the services we're providing is to teach moms how to advocate, how to make sure that they're getting quality care, as well as looking at birthing alternatives, working with doulas, birthing centers, et cetera, which have better outcomes.
I would, and Commissioner, you step in as well. I want to add to that. From the moment a child of color comes out of a mother's womb, in most instances, they go into a neighborhood like this one, where you're in the food desert, where you are subjected to environmental racism. The air that you breathe is not as clean. The mother's access to knowledge about what to eat and what not to eat is not as good. Daycare facilities are limited. Look, it's hard. It's hell being poor. I may live in the medical center now, but I'm from Sunnyside, and I know what it's like. My dad working at the VA hospital, and our health care was at the VA. He had the graveyard shift, so we could go and talk to a doctor on the graveyard shift when they weren't working, and we get our supplies from the VA hospital. And in a state like Texas, where we have not drawn on the resources of the Affordable Care Act, there's so many structural issues that come into play. Commissioner Briones?
I agree. Go ahead. Next question. I agree with everything that's been stated.
And she can say it in Spanish. I can't. I'm working on it.
Yes, I'll do a segment in Spanish. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So, the topic of maternal health and child health also ties into women's reproductive health. And something that's sort of still top of mind from over the weekend is the abortion pill ruling. There's a lot of concerns about how this could impact access to women's reproductive health care. As professionals, as public officials, could y'all kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so I believe it was 2 courts ago, through the leadership of Commissioner Briones, Judge Hidalgo, and Commissioner Ellis and Commissioner Garcia, they established a reproductive health fund that public health will be working to administer in conjunction with our community partners. And the goal of that program is to bring family planning services and resources into communities in deeper ways, not in the ways that we've done in the past, but really identifying those community organizations and partners, looking at those zip codes of social vulnerability, where they have high social vulnerability index scores, and bringing the services directly into the community. And I think that is, our charge is to provide education as well as family planning resources and supports. And I will leave it to the commissioners. I'm not a policymaker, I'm an administrator, to speak to that.
I'll add the maternal health work that we are doing is extra critical because of recent court decisions, including this weekend, where there are conflicting rulings. So the Supreme Court likely will be the ultimate decider on this particular issue with regard to the abortion pill. But as I mentioned, I have 3 little girls. They're growing up with fewer rights than their grandmothers. And so if women have lost, for all intents and purposes, the ability to make key decisions about their body, and we are making women have these children even when raped or been the victim of incest, it is extra critical that we work on reducing these horrific numbers of maternal mortality and morbidity here in Harris County. So it's all so interrelated. And yes, as Director Robinson mentioned, we are proud to be investing in making access to contraception and family planning more affordable and accessible here in Harris County. And at the end of the day, we have to follow all of the laws. Not what the law should be, from our vantage point, but what the law is. But there's still opportunity with regard to access to contraception, family planning, education, as well as making sure that the women in Harris County do have access to health care so that they and their babies can return home safely.
And would you say that's because there is anticipation that the need is just going to be greater and greater?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I can add to that, at least for two of the men on Commissioner's Court. I think Commissioner Garcia would let me say this for him as well. At least two of us believe that women ought to be able to make the same decisions with regard to their bodies as we are able to make for our bodies, as far as the law will let us go. If there is an opportunity to do an amicus, if there's some court challenge, I think you'll find our county attorney, Mr. Menifee, very supportive. We will go as far as we can go in terms of funding, whatever we are permitted to do. I'm sure each of us individually, I can only talk to one commissioner about it. We'll talk to our colleagues in other counties that are sensitive in the state, Bexar, Travis, Dallas, to find out El Paso, what they are thinking about doing with local funds and with federal funds to give women access to as many options as we are legally permitted to do.
Could you guys share more about what's going to be happening at this conference, and is this going to be mainly geared toward providers, or how can the public benefit from this conference?
Yes, this conference will include researchers, medical professionals, other national experts, advocates, those that work directly in community to raise awareness about, maternal health and well-being. And so it is really an opportunity for Harris County providers and stakeholders to learn from national experts, as well as share their experiences within our current systems and opportunities for us to address the kinds of challenges and barriers that are creating and perpetuating these types of inequities for women of color.
I was impressed as the people who were participating in the conference stood up to introduce themselves. At least several people from Washington, D.C., some people from Dallas, I think from Oklahoma, who flew in on a Monday after the Easter weekend. I think that says a lot about their commitment to the issue. And Commissioner Brown, I took French. Now, what were they thinking? One person who's in D.C. now said he's from Worthing High School. I started to ask him, did he take French as well? But I know you're going to provide some interpretation for our friends from Telemundo. Univision.
Hola, soy Leslie Briones, soy la comisionadora del Condado de Harris, Distrito número 4, y estamos aquí porque las mujeres del Condado de Harris, nosotros aquí en este condado tenemos el números más altos de la nación de muertes, de mujeres que están teniendo bebés, especialmente las mujeres afroamericanas. Y estamos viviendo en Houston y el condado de Harris, donde tenemos salud médica increíble. Tenemos los hospitales más grandes del mundo, pero en el mismo tiempo tenemos los números más horríficos, tenemos más muertes de cualquier lugar en esta nación, especialmente para las mujeres latinas y afroamericanas. Y eso tiene que cambiar, y estamos aquí con la directora Barbary Robinson de la Salud Pública del Condado de Harris, porque estamos teniendo una conferencia esta semana de Maternal Health. Tenemos expertos de toda la nación, de niveles del gobierno federal, estatal y local, que están trabajando en este tema para que todas las mujeres puedan tener sus bebés saludables y podemos todos vivir una vida de oportunidad y de salud. Muchas gracias. Sí.
¿Por qué es tan malo? Porque hay tanta desigualdad en los casos de mujeres que pertenecen a minorías, especialmente mujeres hispanas y afroamericanas. ¿En qué cae o por qué sucede eso?
La respuesta corta es la pobreza y el acceso a salud médico, especialmente aquí en el estado de Texas, donde no tenemos el Medicaid Expansion una cosa. También las diferencias en educación, los casos de diabetes y todas las condiciones antes del embarazo que nos ponen en una situación peor para empezar. Y luego no podemos tener el acceso a la salud médica que necesitamos y después cuando nace, ojalá nace saludable, pero en muchas casos no. Pero luego estamos trabajando en varios trabajos, no tenemos la aseguranza y luego la comida que tenemos en la casa. Básicamente es una cadena de retos que tenemos. Pero por eso, como yo soy mamá, soy la primera mamá en el Commissioner's Court, en la historia del condado de Harris, pero yo fui maestra y empieza ahí, yo creo, que en la educación, pero tenemos que estar trabajando porque los números para las mujeres afroamericanas son espantosos. Tenemos los números peores en la nación, aquí en el condado de Harris. Y podemos hablar todo el día, pero la cosa es que necesitamos acción porque mujeres y bebés están muriendo cada día.
¿Qué es lo que están haciendo en referencia a ese tema? Si nos puede traer
Sí,
un
sí,
poco
sí.
más.
La directora puede hablar más, pero estamos empezando un programa que se llama Access y hay varios servicios sociales, pero están trabajando en silos, uno por cada uno. Pero una mujer que tiene esas necesidades, si puede tener un point of contact, si puede accesar todos esos servicios con una persona que puede ayudar con la comida, la salud, la educación, el trabajo, para hacer más fácil, porque nadie tiene el tiempo para ir corriendo a 10 oficinas para accesar la ayuda. Así con Access es una inversión para ayudar a las mujeres en una manera más eficiente. Así hay una puerta para accesar en vez de una docena.
Si hay mujeres que son minorías y en este momento las están escuchando, ¿qué quisiera decirles a ellas que están embarazadas y que tal vez sienten que no hay ayuda para ellas, que no hay apoyo para ellas porque son minorías?
Por favor, deberían visitar al condado de Harris, la salud pública, Harris County Public Health. Hay mucha información y también tenemos hospitales y clínicas por todo el condado de Harris que se llama Harris Health. Así que si quieren ir a llamar o ir a Harris Health, hay locaciones por todo el condado y eso sería mi recomendación.
Okay,
Gracias.
thank you. And if they want to talk to some of the participants, I think she worked it out. I don't think they want you to film them while they're meeting. If so, just don't be intrusive, but she'll let you talk to some of them. Allison did mention to me, and I forgot, North Carolina is going to draw down affordable health care money, and I hope you all will mention that in your stories. We're using federal money for this, and if we did get that affordable care money, it would help tremendously to deal with this problem and to keep our other communities from falling into the category that we're trying to get Black women and babies out of. So thank you all. And I think something's on the wall, maybe she'll tell you what the mural is about, by the way. I'm real proud of this. But don't spill all of the beans, because I think we're going to dedicate it on Thursday, and the community will be here to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Hest House. All right, thank you all. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.